All right, so here we go. We got some brand new exciting news about, yes, The Witcher 4. We're going to talk about what is going on with that. Plus, yeah, what's happening with Cyberpunk 2 and some really cool details about how they're building The Witcher 4, the next Cyberpunk, utilizing new tech with Unreal Engine, which is pretty wild. And this one right here, Fable. I'm telling you what, this is like at the top of my list. I cannot freaking wait for Fable. There's some details that you might not know about regarding Fable that we're going to talk about. And yes, remember, I am doing a $70 game giveaway. So follow that link in that top pinned comment to enter this giveaway and for a chance to win $70. So you could pick a game of your choice, whatever it could be in the future, or, you know, maybe you want to build your backlog even more. But anyway, yeah, we're also going to talk about this other game called The Godslayer, which looks absolutely badass. And we're going to dive into what's going on around PlayStation and Blue Point. Some really disappointing news about that one. Yes, we're talking about the Bloodborne remake, but let's start from the very beginning because we're talking about The Witcher 4, of course, and I cannot wait for this game. I really hope that this one delivers what we're seeing right here, but that small text does say that this is basically a tech demo. This is what they're shooting for, of course. Can they get there with the final product? Well, we'll see what happens. I cross my fingers they get pretty close to this, but that's the goal. Anyway, the news is this. Former Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 producer Alice Severova joined CD Projekt Red for The Witcher 4. Hopefully I didn't butcher his name, but this is amazing news. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in recent memory has been one of my favorite, more like realistic RPGs that I have played in the open world game space for sure. And that gets me totally hyped for what they are planning with The Witcher 4, which is perhaps meaning they want more deliberate paced gameplay, something that's, although it is embedded in this like kind of dark fantasy, I suppose you would say, they also would like to go for realism. Now, how realistic they lean into this, I'm not too sure, but there are indications that CD Projekt Red is heavily looking into Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's gameplay mechanics, the pacing and that sort of thing for The Witcher 4. It sounds like to me, the guys at CD Projekt Red had a good time with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. They loved it, and they're taking that as inspiration, which is actually really, really cool. Now, we also have The Witcher 4 Cyberpunk 2 developer CD Projekt Red scoops up more industry talent as a Claire Obscure Expedition 33 Cinematics dev joins the team. This is fantastic news. Now it says she's most likely working on The Witcher 4, or it could be Project Hadar, which is their other unknown experimental project, which is not going to be tied to The Witcher or Cyberpunk. It's like their brand new IP, so maybe it's that. But anyway, CD Projekt Red is getting someone that is exceptionally talented at crafting some very unique, amazing cinematics. We saw those cinematics with Expedition 33. Absolutely stellar work there. So excited to see what she does with, of course. Maybe it's The Witcher 4. Maybe it's something else. But, you know, mentioning The Witcher 4, it's running on some pretty amazing tech, as you can clearly see. Again, this is what they're aiming for. It says no actual gameplay. That's super important to know. But, you know, there were some things that were said recently about, of course, Unreal Engine 5. And the most important thing is like getting it running smooth, getting past this choppiness that we have experienced with so many open world RPGs. So check this out. This comes from The Witcher 4 News. It says, well, with all these advancements, I think The Witcher 4 is basically going to give us an almost stutter-free open world and probably get rid of most of the classic UE5 open world issues. And the most important bit is that he is quoting senior software engineer developer relations at Epic Games. Now, formerly their lead programmer on Returnal, and they're known as Ari Arnstmorsson. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name. I probably just did, but this video is interesting. I'm not going to play the full thing for you, but the gist of it is this. As you go through here, you can see all these red lines, and they're highlighting, of course. You can see the smooth green lines, which is representing good, smooth frame rate that you want. And with their tools, they're able to identify key points through your open world exploration or moments in the game where you're hitting these roadblocks, these frame rate dips and stutters. And this tool is going to be extremely useful for the future of developing a game like The Witcher 4. So maybe you run into like a weird stutter, like this. I'm just adding it in there for, dramatics. And as a developer, you wonder, why the hell did it do that? Well, there's going to be a record of this going forward, and the dev team will be able to take a look at that, understand what's happening, and it will improve the smoothness, the frame rates of open world RPGs going forward. This tool is invaluable to developing a game like The Witcher 4, games like Cyberpunk 2, and so on and so forth. It's going to be an absolute game changer for sure. But we also have this right here. If anyone else has been concerned over how The Witcher 4 is going to handle Unreal Engine 5, the Digital Foundry interview answered some of my questions. CD Projekt Red and Epic broke down how they hit a super solid 60 frames per second on a base PS5, by the way, among other things. That is insane that they're able to pull off 60 frames per second supposedly smoothly, at least in this demo. Remember, it is a demo. But, Digital Foundry said they sat in on this demonstration themselves behind closed doors and were super impressed with what they have been able to accomplish with the frame rate. And again, it's just because of the new tools that the dev team has been given because of the updates, the behind the scenes stuff that's going on with Unreal Engine 5. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this. You got to be careful with your hype levels, of course, but I am really hoping that going into possibly like the next gen consoles, PlayStation 6, which again, like that could be even like 2028, considering what's going on with RAM, GPUs, and that sort of thing. But I'm hoping that this technology really, really helps with these next gen games. But oh boy, yes, Fable. I cannot wait for this one. They're going to try to get this out autumn 2026, which should be interesting. It might be going head to head with GTA 6 here if it's not delayed or if GTA 6 isn't delayed. But I am so hyped for this one, even with GTA 6 on the horizon. Now, if we head on over here, we have Fable, the living population, some details here about this. So having lively NPCs were non-negotiable when the team started, over 1,000 of them. And, hearing that, you go, well, that's not like a lot. We hear some games have 10,000, tens and tens of thousands. I actually love that they're not aiming for a larger number here. It means they can actually develop NPCs with personalities, with actual living routines. That's something that caught my attention immediately right there. So I think that number is actually good news. Then we have fully voiced conversations with any NPC. It's not going to just be text or anything like that. They're saying this is going to be fully voiced, which is great. NPCs are persistent with daily routines. You could follow anyone around all day and watch their autonomous actions. Each NPC has their own personality traits, likes and dislikes, and you can go into any building or house, which is pretty damn cool. But the interactions here are going to be really neat depending on what NPC you're dealing with. They're not all just going to be, one type of personality. Every house can be purchased and you could live in it. This is something that I was thrilled to hear. I loved this feature in Fable 2. I was so bummed it hasn't been in like practically many open world RPGs at all. I'm like, what is the deal? Why is no one doing that? Like, that really makes the world kind of like a lived in space that matters and you can kind of expand and stuff. It's very cool. Now, players can marry more than one, and NPCs will have opinions about that too. Oh boy. So this will be a ton of fun to mess around with, and maybe you can get yourself, I don't know, into trouble if you want to do like an evil playthrough. And we can also hire and fire each one of them, so you can be an absolute horrible boss maybe or something, or like, a really forgiving boss. Your reputation is affected by what you do out in the world, and each character will have their own opinion of you. And your reputation also can be different from place to place, depending on your actions. So you have one identity in one town and a whole different identity in another. Dude, I didn't realize that. That is pretty damn cool right there. So you could basically be living like two different lives. Maybe in one town, you could be known as a hero, and the other, you could be an ultimate villain or something. I don't know. I have a feeling that some things might be wild in this. Reactions vary. Some NPCs will praise you, scold you, mention things you did, so they do remember things that you've done in the past. Catcall you, and shop prices can be affected. I'm kind of curious to see if there's a difference between, like, if you're playing as a female versus male, how much this changes up. And you can do things to rebalance your reputation or pay the town crier to start shouting about a new reputation to overwrite your old one. Really? Damn, that's the first time I'm reading about that. Each NPC has their own bed in the game. Each town has to be functional. So yeah, even at nighttime, they're going to go and get their beauty sleep. But I do wonder if you're going to see some NPCs that work late into the night, or maybe they're on the night shift. I do hope they actually have stuff like that that makes the world even more believable. But moving on, I want to talk about this next game. It is called Godslayer, and I did want to show some of the footage here. It looks wild. Maybe I can expand this a little bit. Yeah, let me expand it for you guys. Yeah, this is looking like the Avatar game we've always wanted. If this was called, Avatar The Last Airbender, it would fit so perfectly. Even the moves, you got your water bending. I mean, it looks so damn good. I could not wait for this one. But what about the brand new details about this game? So let's go ahead and get into those. All right, so if you didn't know, this is going to be a completely open world game. So it's an RPG, an open world RPG set in Eastern steampunk metropolis, and the artwork here looks beautiful. You play as Elemancer with elemental powers. You control fire, water, earth, metal, and wood. Now, fire consumes wood, water extinguishes fire, steam rises from boiling water, and earth can obstruct. So it's kind of like this balancing with like paper, rock, scissors, and that sort of thing. And we also have acquired new skills from ancient scrolls and elemental masters. Now, airships are going to be a thing, believe it or not. We have steamboats, monorails, and steam vehicles, keeping the fact that this is like a very steampunk looking game. Look at this boss, for example. Dude, the size and scope of this is like, they're trying to go for like a God of War type size and scope. It is wild looking. Now, cultivate allies, trade in favors, and bribe the right officials to get advantages. Now, developers study Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Spider-Man, Batman, Sifu, The Last Airbender to aspire the combat. Now, they're aiming for 40-hour, 7-chapter linear story with side quests as well. So that sounds like a good amount of content. Some of the bigger open world games, even like Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, clocked in 20, 25 hours with just the main story if you breeze through that main story. But yeah, this looks really, really good. They even have some destruction going on here too. All right, so next up, I wanted to talk briefly about this one to kind of finish up here. So Blue Point was claimed to be pitching yes, a Bloodborne remake before being shuttered. Please tell me this isn't true. And, they crafted so many amazing remakes in games that were just of stellar quality. It goes to show in the gaming industry, if you do a hell of a job, if you do a good job, you're not going to be exactly rewarded at all. And my biggest fear as to why this has happened is because of AI, simply because of the fact that what we might see in the future, instead of them having this whole studio, Blue Point, go in here and remake Bloodborne, that Sony might offer AI filters in the future where you can just overlay that filter on any game, as long as the devs opt in to the filter and they allow it. But yeah, that's kind of like my thinking as to why this could actually be happening, why they're doing this. It really, really sucks, of course. Now, they do say Shadow of the Colossus reportedly lost money, though it was greenlit, of course, for preservation. And yeah, so just because you have a remake and it's high quality, apparently it's not going to make you money. But even still, it just brings up the portfolio for Sony. It makes Sony as a product, the PlayStation as a product, so much more attractive, at least in my mind. At least that's how I thought Sony would view things, instead of just shuttering the doors of these absolutely amazing dev teams. It's such a bummer that they have done this. But you know what? I say we go over your top comments from my video that I only released 2 hours ago. And yeah, check out that video if you miss it. It's about Crimson Desert. There's some details in here that I am so hyped for. And remember, yeah, again, I am still doing the $70 game giveaway. So for a chance to win a game of your choice, essentially, see that top pinned comment. You can even purchase Crimson Desert with the $70. But yeah, let's get into your comments. All right, let's check it out. So it says, the longest month wait for me in a long while. Maybe I can actually zoom this in. that was a bad idea. Yeah, I agree. I've been counting down the days to this release. I cannot wait. Again, like I am totally hyped for this one, just as much as practically like GTA 6. It looks that good. Hopefully it lives up to its promises. You know, we're hearing good things, and we have, players that are currently playing it quietly right now. The embargo will be lifting here in less than 24 hours from what I understand. So yeah, we should be getting some more details. Now, also, too many dungeons and fortresses feels like my food is too tasty to me. I would much rather be overwhelmed than underwhelmed. That is such a great point because, yeah, I highlighted this Reddit thread where there were some claims about, oh man, it looks like it could be too much with the fortresses, that they're stacked on top of each other and there's going to be no meaning in the game. I get some of those concerns though. However, that's a good point. The more, the better in the case of like a big open world game. You don't want the world to feel empty. And too many tabs open. Yes, I currently still have too many tabs open. What are the replies on this? I have triple that amount open right now. Hell yes. That's psychotic. Yeah, my PC, I can hear it running a little bit right now because of this. Then we have people at my work don't know it yet, but I'm going to be sick from March 20th till April 20th. Yeah, you know, you don't want to go into work, of course, if you're sick. You got to make sure you don't get anyone else sick, right? But yeah, that sounds like a good plan. You know, it sounds like you have saved some time off for this moment. And I don't know. For me, it's like when some of these big open world RPGs come out like this, it's almost like a vacation. It feels like almost like you're going to an actual place in some ways. You know what I mean? I remember when Assassin's Creed 2 came out, I really felt that way exploring Venice and Florence and everything. It just kept going. So I'm hoping that same feeling applies to Crimson Desert. The dopamine will be very high March 19th for us gamers. Hell yes. Map size has never been a problem for me. Yeah, you know, it just depends. I've played so many different games of various map sizes. Sometimes too big can be problematic. And then sometimes it's best to go actually smaller. In the case of like, I don't consider this game exactly open world. Metro Exodus had like hub space. I thought that was perfect for that type of game, like perfection. They did not need to do a huge sprawling open world game. But anyway, there it is. The latest happenings around, yes, we talked about The Witcher 4. Cannot wait for that one. Fable. So many cool open world games coming up here. I know that there's like some bad news in the gaming industry, but I also feel like there's things to still be excited about. But thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.